Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome. This is Willie Cartwright, Willie Cartwright with From Save to Sane. Glad to have you all with us today. It's been a couple of weeks. I had mentioned a few weeks back. Uh, those of you who've been following me for the last 4 or 5 years know that I normally take a break during the summer. I had mentioned a few weeks ago that I was not going to take that break, or at least try not to, and I was planning on being here on a regular basis during the summer. I forgot that I had a trip planned with my wife for her birthday, so we took a trip last week to Southern California, which is 4 or 5 hour drive from where we are now. We love that part of the country. We love Southern California, so we had a wonderful time. So that's why I wasn't here last week, but I'm here this week. And so we are good. We are glad to be here, glad to have all of you who are joining us from wherever, first of all, whatever time zone that you're joining us from. We certainly appreciate that, whether it's 6, 5, 4 o'clock, or if you're in another country, a completely different time zone. We certainly appreciate having all of you here for that. Those of you who will look at this or catch this at a later time and a later date, we also appreciate having you as well. And so, as I said before, I'm Willie Cartwright. This is From Save to Sane, where we talk about religious related topics. We mix some social commentary as well. There's always a direct, at times, an indirect connection between what's going on socially in the world and religion, especially with this country. There is an undergirding of um, religion, and particularly Christianity, that is pushing a lot of the social policies and things that are going on socially. And so we'll address those things. I am a former Christian. I was a Christian for about 40 years, grew up in the deep South. And so I'm Generation X. And so those of you who grew up in the South or the Midwest and Generation X, you know that everybody was Christian. Certainly everybody was religious. And if you were not, that is just something that you did not say publicly. And so for 40 years, I was a Christian. And then about 2015, I decided that it was no longer for me. Um, yeah, is that 40 years? Almost 40 years, I guess, close to it. Yeah. So 2015, we decided, my wife and I both decided that religion was no longer for us, organized religion at that. And so we started to deconvert. I started to deconvert and started this channel probably around 2000, around the same time that I wrote my book. Speaking of the book, and again, I do not have it in front of me. Where is it? I thought I had it, but it's From Save to Sane, my journey away from Christianity and why Christianity has been detrimental to the African American community. You can get it on Amazon um, under Willie O. Cartwright. And so please support us with that. Thank you so much. Those of you who are live, who have joined us, please let me know that you're here. Uh, Chime in, give us a comment, say hello. Need to do that. I am on a new device, a new computer. So I just want to make sure that everything is working fine. It looks like everything is fine from my vantage point. So hopefully it is. But let me know if you're out there. Just give us a comment. Let me know that you can hear me and that we're clear and all of that. So before we get into it, again, welcome to everyone. As I always do, so thank you to a couple of people, beginning with Taisha Essick, who was actually here a couple of weeks ago when we did the last show. So I was glad to have her, glad to see her, glad to see that she's doing fine. I hope that she's out there listening or at least catch this at a later time. But certainly appreciative to her and everything that she's done to help us get this channel going and keep it going. Secondly is my wife, Salima, who is 100% supportive of what we do on this channel, who's always been supportive of me. And so it is wonderful. Again, as I mentioned before, we celebrated her birthday last week. Almost a week ago, a little over a week ago. And so we that was a good thing. Had a good time. So I certainly said thank you to her. Today's topic, we're going to talk about Trump, white supremacy, and Christianity, but I'm also going to go over, hopefully, there are some comments that we can talk about, sort of have it one of these open sessions where we can address many other things outside of what the listed topic implies. But we will talk about those things as well. I always tell you guys how I came up with a topic, or in particular, how I came up with this topic. So this topic was born out of what we've seen recently um, from Texas and what's going on in Texas. And so let me be clear, because this is probably going to be uh, the main topic of this subject today, and things that are happening similar to what's going on in Texas. For those of you who are not familiar with what's going on in Texas, Texas has successfully passed, I guess it's a state policy where they are requiring biblical scriptures to be read um, in all classes from K to 12, K through 12. I think they're going to start to phase it in the year 2030. Uh, 2030. And those of you right there, if I have it wrong, please correct me. But my understanding from what I read in the research is that they're going to phase it in 2030, requiring all students to read biblical scriptures from grades K through 12. And let me just read you a little bit of it here. In a major expansion of religion in classrooms, the Texas State Board of Education voted to require passages from the Bible in the state's K through 12 English and literature curriculum. The required reading for more than 5 million students will be phased in starting in 2030. Additionally, Texas has authorized schools to hire chaplains and mandated the display of the Ten Commandments in classrooms. I think that this is a horrible thing, but I'm going to explain to you why this is not a good thing. And many of you, this is going to be obvious to many of you, especially on this channel. But for those of you who may be listening and not necessarily a fan of me or what I do and people like me, but tend to listen to channels like mine, um, let me help you to understand why me and people like me that this is not a good thing, and quite frankly, why it shouldn't be a good thing for you as a Christian or a believer. First of all, what's going on, Neo? Glad to have you, Neo. Peace, peace. Glad to have you. Hopefully, you can hear me well. So glad to have you as always, Neo. And you can send some comments and chime in. Let me know what you think about this. But when I first saw this, I started posting on social media about how this was a horrible idea, a horrible progression. If you want to call it progression, I call it a regression, for a number of reasons. First of all, there is this thing called separation of church and state. Regardless of what you are hearing from some Congress members who are attempting to push back on that, attempting to gaslight us regarding the Constitution and what it says and what it actually means by separation of church and state. This is certainly a violation of church and state. Thank you, Neo. Yeah, drive safe. Sharon, glad to have you. What's going on? We're all doing well, Sharon. Glad to have you. But so the separation of church and state, this is a violation of separation of church and state. The public education system is a state government ran institution funded by tax money, public money. It is not a private school. It is not private institution. And so to require K through 12 students to have to read biblical scriptures or Bible scriptures is a violation of separation of church and state. Secondly, it also, in a continuation of it being a violation of church and state, is also it is what is happening is that the state government is favoring one religion over another religion. And I mentioned this in some social media posts, and one person came back and said, well, they teach about other religions in literature class. That is not the same. First of all, those religions are discussed and taught under the context of mythology, and they're taught and discussed in a larger context as a group, and is not required in every class by every student K through 12. Well, what we're seeing with Texas, it is an attempt to teach biblical scripture as fact, not literature, not mythology. It is required K through 12, and so that makes it different. Uh, Next, if you're going to teach that, what about the students who are of other religions? Are you not required to teach from the Quran or the religious texts of people who are Hindu or Buddhist or any other religion? What about those individuals like me and some of my listeners who are of no particular religion? What about those individuals like me who may be atheist or agnostic and those students and don't want to hear that? So now you're requiring these students to do this. And out, it is not going to be taught from a neutral standpoint. Most, if not all, of these teachers are going to be believers because we're talking about Texas. They are going to be firm supporters of the Christian faith. And this is no more than an indoctrination into Christianity. That is all that it is. And so for those reasons, it is absolutely asinine that Texas was able to do this. Now, it's not going to be implemented until 2030. I absolutely expect this to be challenged by a number of groups. I know the American Atheist Association. I know Secular Student Alliance, which is an organization that I'm a part of, and many other organizations are probably going to challenge this in the courts. Maybe even an organization like the ACLU or some other organizations are going to challenge this. And so I would like to think that under a unbiased court system that this would not stand. But we know, and what we've seen is that we know that the courts, everything from the state courts to the appellate courts, even to the Supreme Court, are no longer unbiased, are no longer impartial. And so this is a great opportunity for Texas. Something they've been trying to do forever is to indoctrinate or implement Christian studies in our school system. And so I'm not as confident that the challenges that I see coming from a number of organizations will actually win. And I think that there is a really solid chance that these classes are going to be implemented and taught beginning in 2030. And that is a huge problem. One, I guess, in talking to people on social media, and this is a fact, there are people who tend to believe that once these readings are made mandatory, it is going to go a long way in creating a whole new generation of atheists and agnostics. Theoretically, that is true. But the point, first of all, the point of it is that we shouldn't be at this point at all, right? Because this is totally against the Constitution. It's totally against the rights of people from a religious standpoint. A public school with public funding is not the place to teach religion or to require religious reading. But theoretically, we would like to think that once young people, especially today's young people, who I give them more credit than many people in my generation, many of my peers do. I think today's generation are smarter, smarter in the sense that they are inquisitive about things. They're certainly, many of them are certainly coming from parents who are not as devout as maybe my mother was and that generation. And so I would think and I would guess that they're going to read some of these passages and they're going to ask very probing questions. And some of the answers that they get or some of the answers that they might not get is going to force them to start to do more research. And eventually I think we're going to end up with more agnostic or non-believers based on the fact that they've read the Bible. Many of us who've been believers before, we know that one of our biggest allies in people becoming non-religious is reading the Bible. Uh, One of our allies in people no longer becoming Christians or starting the deconversion process is those who have read, actually sat down and read the entire Bible. And so we're hoping that that happens if we get to that point. Sharon said, when you get a chance, can you pass along your professional email? Okay, we'll do. We'll do that, Sharon. I'm just gonna put the email. I have freaking 5 emails, Sharon, or more. I'm gonna put in just this one here. This is the easiest one to get to me. This is the one I look at the most because I've had it the longest. It is also on um, my phone readily, more so than I have another one, info at O'Neill Biz Consulting. But this is Cartwright at yahoo.com. It's the easiest way to reach me. And then Amanda, glad to have you. Amanda, glad to have you. Good evening to you as well. And so you guys are more than welcome to chime in. Let me know what you think about this Texas situation. We're going to talk about some other states that are doing some of the same things, but this Texas situation really bothered me in a sense. And now, and as I think about it, um, I this morning I heard a gentleman in Tennessee who's running for governor. Now, I don't know because I'm not in Tennessee, so I don't know what his chances are. I don't know if he's just a quack who says he's running. I don't know how serious people are taking him. But this gentleman said that if it was up to him, if he became governor of Tennessee, then he would abolish the rights of everyone to worship any other religion outside of Christianity, including, he mentioned specifically Islam, Buddhism, Hinduism, but he pretty much said all of them, that all of us should worship Christianity and all of us should be Christians, and that he would do away with all of the other religions and anybody who is attempting to practice those faith. Now, I'm going to, if this gentleman becomes a serious candidate for governor, I need to do some research and find out, then we will address that more because that is really an asinine position to be taken. That makes us no different than a lot of the Muslim countries. They have a theocracy, a strong theocracy. And I've said this many times before. If we continue down the path that we're on, we see what's going on in Texas and other states and governors like this, we are headed to a theocracy or a type of theocracy that's going to be a mixture of oligarchy, a dictatorship, capitalist society. All of that is going to be sort of mixed in, but it's going to be undergirded by religion and Christianity, because that is the topic, that is the thing that that appeals to the masses, and the masses support the leaders, the political leaders. But what they're doing is using religion as sort of the undergird that sort of brings everyone together, at least the masses, at least a lot of their supporters. Michael, what's going on? Is it Michael or Michelle? I'm sorry, Michelle. What is it? Michelle Lash, 9714. Yeah, thank you, Sharon. Yeah, reach out to me. Let me know what's going on. Thank you, Sharon. 9714 said, right, this is pushing a white-based Christianity. I could see it. I could see if it was about teaching cooperative. I'm sorry, comparative theology. Exactly. It would be somewhat. It would be somewhat understanding. But this is about pushing white Christian supremacy. I saw Aaron Rod thoughts about this on his YouTube page yesterday. Yeah, I follow Aaron. I haven't looked at his stuff in a couple of months, but yeah, I do follow Aaron. He's really good at what he does. Yeah, this is, and so that was the next part of what I was going to talk about. This is really about white supremacy, and this is really about Christian nationalism. Those of you who followed me, especially recently in the last 6 months to a year, or maybe over a year, I have really been talking about Christian nationalism and Christian nationalists really hard. I've done several presentations over the last couple of years, presenting to people in academic settings, talking about the dangers of Christian nationalism and Christian nationalists. So absolutely, this is really what this is about. Uh, and the unfortunate part about it is that many people who look like me, because we are collectively the most devout demographic in this country, it is very easy for many of our people, too many, I should say, too many of our people to fall into this because these people, these Christian nationalists, these white supremacists are leading with religion. They're leading with God. They're leading with Jesus. And our people are so susceptible to following that type of conversation and that type of talk. It's Michael. I'm a 68-year-old. Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate that. Thank you for following us. Thank you. But we are collectively African Americans. We're so susceptible to following anything that begins with Jesus, God, Christianity. Um, Unbeknown to a lot of us, we are supporting this white supremacist system because that's what it is. It is about assimilation. So there's again, we talk about a correlation. We talk about a line drawn through from what's going on with what states like Texas are doing, all the way to our public and political policies like immigration, like what we saw with the Supreme Court yesterday, and defending and upholding, barely, but upholding birthright, right? And so what these people are attempting to do is to have all of us assimilate into a system that is basically white Christian, Judo, white Judeo-Christian, where the man, not just the man, but the white man is at the top and everyone else sort of falls under. And so they really want this to be some type of assimilation, and they would like to have all of us just sort of fall in line with this. That is a huge problem, and I wish that more of my people were able to see this. Now, I will say this: I do see on social media and talking to friends who are Christians that there is a lot of pushback. I mean, there is people who are seeing it for what it is. But here's the problem: your southern and midwestern white Christian neighbor who swear that they love everyone, they're either on board with this or they're apathetic to this. And so what happens is that they look at any of you or any of, well, I will say you because I'm not a Christian anymore, but they look at any black Christian who pushes back on this. And the first thing they lead with is like, but we're all brothers and sisters. We're all brothers and sisters in Christ. And you should be Christian first and black or whatever later. And I've heard black people do that. And that is extremely dangerous because it leads to, again, unknowingly or even maybe even knowingly supporting this white supremacist system, again, that is undergirded by Christianity. Make no doubt, this is really what all of this is about. This is about creating a one system. It's about having everyone in a box. It's about having everyone assimilate to what the majority in this country, majority white people think is the right way. And so if you worship any kind of different way, if you're LGBTQ, if you're African American, if you're not Christian, if you're Islam, if you're Buddhist, if you're Hindu, if you're Baha'i, whatever your faith is, if it's not Christianity, then you don't fit in. And so it is a dangerous, slippery slope that we're doing. They're attacking it from every angle, from the top of the government to our school systems and our education system now. It is early indoctrination into our kids to have them to fall in line and assimilate to this system. It's not a far stretch to see that someone using the Bible to, well, first of all, what we have seen and what we continue to see are people using the Bible against the LGBTQ community, quoting scriptures and interpreting scriptures to the way that they wanted to do in order to subjugate and oppress those in the the LGBTQ community. Um, Next, it is going to be African Americans. It is going to go back into the story of Ham, where we're not supposed to be equal with white people. I'm telling you, this may sound crazy to some of you, but I have listened to, I have heard these individuals speak this type of language, and you get people like Stephen Miller in the White House, dressed up in his suit, but he is no different than some of these far extreme people that we're hearing. The only difference with him is that he speaks somewhat intelligently and he has the ear of the president and he's shaping policy. So a lot of this stuff is coming from the Stephen Millers of the world, who's helping to shape policy in Trump's administration. And so we have what we have now. So I'm telling you, this is not just about me or any of us not being happy that Christianity or Bible scriptures are going to be taught in school. It is us having the ability to see what's coming down the line. And I'm telling you, it is more than just, oh, the Bible is great. Is great for us because it teaches us some great things. The Bible is also full of rape, slavery, murder, genocide, child murder, sacrifice, all those other things, all of those atrocious atrocities are in the Bible. And so we can't just cherry pick or allow those individuals to cherry pick just the good stuff and say, well, this is what the Bible is really about without talking about the Bible collectively. And so when I get accused of picking out all the bad stuff, I said, no, first of all, the bad stuff is in more of an abundance than you think it is. And secondly, because Christians do such a great job of hiding all of the bad stuff and only regurgitating the good stuff or the things that they, or the things that, the stuff that they can interpret to be good. They never talk about all the other stuff. That's when people like me and some other people start to ask questions they don't have answers for, or they don't want to give you the answer. That is what, those kind of things is what start people on their deconversion journey, because you refuse to answer questions about stuff that is obviously a problem in the Bible. Once you deconvert and get on the other side, like we are, like I am now, you ask those same questions to believers. And now what you get are mental gymnastics by them. You get asinine answers in an attempt to defend what I call the indefensible. All of these things that are in the Bible. So I encourage all of you and ask all of you to continue to watch and see what's going on in the community, in your community, your local laws, your school boards, the state laws, and all of that. We'll keep track of that. But I want to go over just a few other states and see what they're talking about, what they're doing. And I want you guys to notice a trend here. Louisiana became the first state in decades to require the display of the Ten Commandments in every public school and state-funded university classroom. This legislation requires a poster-sized copy of the Decalogue in a clear, readable font. Following a legal battle, the U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals allowed the law to proceed, and schools have begun putting the display up. Again, more indoctrination of religion when everyone is not part of that religion. I know plenty of people who are Christians who don't agree with this, who don't think that the Ten Commandments should be up. Michael said, I'm sorry, I'm 68-year-old ex. Oh, Nation of Islam, Muslim. Okay, all right. From Ohio. Unfortunately, many of our people who believe in Christianity the way conservatives, whites do, they defend it to the way you just said. Absolutely, and it's sad. Mike, I often talk about my wife on this channel. My wife was born into the nation, and then I think they converted over to other Muslim sects, whatever. So she was raised Muslim until she was about 21, and then she converted first, and then her mother converted. And then when we met, she was a Christian. She had been a Christian at that point for about 10 years or so. I have a cousin who used to be Muslim, a good friend who passed away a couple of years ago who was Muslim, and I've known many people from the nation. Where I may disagree with the religion, I certainly respect the people and a lot of the things that they've done. I often would say back in the day, if I had to send my kids to public schools, and this was before I deconverted, that I would send them to a Muslim school if I had kids, at least at the younger age. So there are some things about them that I can admire. I just don't agree with their religion. But yeah, so thank you for being here. As I was saying about Louisiana, yeah, so having the Ten Commandments, again, this is a slippery slope. You started with the Ten Commandments, and then you get required Bible reading. Next, you're going to have required actually Bible study as a regular class from K through 12, and it's going to spread from state to state to state. The next state is Oklahoma. So Oklahoma previously saw aggressive attempts by State Superintendent Ryan Waters to mandate Bibles in every classroom and integrate Christian teachings into the social studies curriculum. However, after legal battles and the state Supreme Court halting the curriculum, new leadership at the Oklahoma State Department of Education rescinded the mandates and dropped plans to distribute Bibles in classrooms. So I guess we would call that a win. Thankfully, that the new leadership saw how this was such an asinine attempt to do, and that this was wrong. So there are some sensible people in Oklahoma. So thank you for that. Let's see what's going on here. I had some others on. Let's see. So again, we need to be mindful of those things. Watch what's going on. As I continue to say, in recent years, several Republican-led states have launched coordinated efforts to integrate Christian teachings and the Bible into public school systems. These policies often championed by conservative lawmakers and Christian nationalist groups. As I've said before, and many of you have said, these groups have sparked intense national debate and legal challenges regarding the constitutional separation of church and state. Again, something that we talked about earlier. Let's see. Oh yeah. Also, there are states who are trying to implement school chaplains and religious release times. Florida, the legislation was enacted allowing school districts to enlist volunteer chaplains or religious representatives to provide counseling and services to students who opt in. Texas passed a similar law allowing districts to employ or accept chaplains for student counseling. My last year of grad school in 2024, Georgia State, which is where I received my second master's degree from, created a program for non-religious chaplain. And one of my cohorts was the first graduate of that program. She was a non-religious person who wanted to do chaplaincy work. And so the program was created, I think, a year before she got there. And I think she was the first one to graduate from that program. I think there's been another one as well. Last thing I heard was that they both were working and doing really well. So I say that to say that there are people who need chaplaincy services, but are not of any particular faith or no faith at all, or of a faith that is not represented in most of these institutions. And so I think it is a wonderful idea to have non-religious chaplains. And so I think, and I'm happy that Georgia State has that program. I think there may be one or two other schools in the country that have a similar program, but I think there's also that type of, you may be to get a certificate or do that type of work and get that type of training outside of a university or college. And so those of you who may be interested in that, there is an option for you if you want to get into the chaplaincy without the religious, without being bogged down with the religion. There are opportunities for that. Ohio, lawmakers have debated a bill that will force school districts to establish policies allowing students to be released during the school day to attend off-site religious instructions. Now, I heard this a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago, and I wasn't sure if it actually became law. But again, it was disturbing, and I saw people debating this, which was not something that was required. A proponent of this idea was like, it's not required, it's just extracurricular, but we would give time in the day for students to go and do this. One person likened it to students who leave early to go to football practice or cheerleader practice or whatever. Of course, that is asinine. It is not indoctrinating them with religion if they go to cheerleader practice or football practice. This is absolutely indoctrination. And so, yeah. As we continue, religious public charter schools. Oklahoma conservative groups attempted to establish the nation's first publicly funded religious charter school, a Catholic institution. The effort failed following a deadlocked decision by the Oklahoma Supreme Court. Though legal advocates continue pushing to challenge the exclusion of religious entities from public charter funding. Um, full disclosure. There was a time in my career, 20 years ago, that I was pro charter schools. Um, it had nothing to do with religious schools. It was just my opinion. This is just me, and I've since I'm sort of wavering on it. But the reason that I supported charter schools and I was on a board of directors for a charter school in Georgia was because I grew up in a community where the local schools tend to suffer, and those students who wanted to really excel in their academics were challenged by all of the things that were going on, um, the the issues with disciplining kids and that type of thing. Also, as I grew older and matriculated into adulthood, I did a lot of mentoring in a lot of schools, and I saw that there were a lot of failing schools, a lot of failing school systems. But again, students who were really asking to get the help that they needed, and so I thought that at the time that charter schools, if they were specific in their mission, that this was one way to sort of counter that. I know the arguments on the other side, and I'm fully aware of that. So, but I just wanted to put that out there as full disclosure. But charter schools, religious charter schools that take public funding, is an entirely different situation. And so I would be opposed to any kind of charter schools that takes public funding because I just don't think that that is right. And so I sort of stand on that. And so the pattern that we see here is that these are mostly southern and midwestern states. I do know that there are states like North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, and Utah who are enacting similar legislation or attempting to enact similar legislation as some of these southern and midwestern states. Utah makes a whole lot of sense because it is a Mormon state for the most part. North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, some of those states are, although small, they are usually very conservative states. And so I can see how those things can happen, how those states can support and push those things as well. Um, Michael said, I believe that the FFRF is still fighting that Ohio proposition, but I will have to look it up. So don't take my word on the moment. Yeah, Michael, I can look that up as well. That's good information. Those of you who are not familiar with the FFRF, there's a Freedom for Religious Foundation. Dan, his name slipping me right now. Barker, Dan Barker, and his wife. I think his wife is pretty much running everything now. They interviewed me 5 years or so ago now, when my book first came out. So I know Dan and his wife. I've talked with them. I've also been present at a presentation that they did for the Sunday Assembly here in Vegas. And so, yeah, great organization. They are always on the forefront of fighting these type things. So that would make sense, Michael, because I was saying about a year and a half ago, I heard about the story was going on, and then it sort of went away. So I haven't heard anything until I just pulled it up and read it here. So hopefully they either are still fighting it or they managed to sort of win. So that's a great organization. And there are a lot of organizations that are doing that kind of work out there, that those of us, if we can, we should support those different organizations. I do my part as being a member of the Secular Student Alliance, and I've done some work with a number of the other organizations. I will use this time to also plug, if you guys are looking for an African American led organization that is similar to that, That would be the uh, um, non-black believers out of Atlanta, and Mandisa Thomas runs that organization. So shout out to her. But I think that we need some other organizations. I remember a few months ago I was online speaking, talking to a young man who was trying to sort of organize and start another type of African American led uh, atheist or agnostic organization. We know the challenges of that. We know that we are few in numbers, but we are there. There are a lot more of us than what we think. The other side of that is that although there may be more, there are not as many of us who are open and out and overt about our disbelief and about us being either non-believers, agnostic, atheists, whatever, however we frame it, whatever language we like to use, humanists, all those things. And so we also know that we, unlike some other communities, run the risk of being ostracized by those who love us, those who we've grown up with in our community, because being a non-believer, it is a non-starter in our community. I often say that we have grace and forgiveness for everything in our community, except when you say you don't believe in God. And so a person can go to jail, murder someone, kill someone. There's always going to be someone in the neighborhood that pushes, that supports them, that makes excuses for them. But the minute that you say that you don't believe in God, then that's it. You are no longer part of the community. As I wrote in my graduate thesis, there is an element of um, if you're not a believer, if you don't believe in God, you're somehow not black. You're somehow white in that sense. And so I wrote about that in my thesis. We talk about how being religious, being a Christian or being a Muslim is synonymous with being black. And if you're not a Christian, if you're not Muslim, then somehow you are not black. And people will, and I've seen this in my own family, my wife's family, people will accept you if you say that you are spiritual, if you say that you still believe in something out there, they will accept you. But the minute that you say you don't believe in anything anymore, that you no longer believe in a deity or God, then absolutely you are ostracized and you are, for all practical purposes, kicked out of the community. And so I've experienced this myself. Those of you who may know me, who are on here listening, who may know that it really didn't make me no mind, as the old people used to say. I had already, in my personal development, I have always been a person who has thought differently, moved differently, um, and in many instances, I have been that person in my circle. And so my experiences were a little different. I did have people who ostracized me. I did have people who severed relationships, friendships, long-standing friendships. My mother was really hurt, but she didn't talk to me about it. Unfortunately, she passed away before we could have that conversation. But I was able to be more open because I didn't have that weight on my shoulders of having to answer to anyone about what I was doing, why I was making those decisions, or why I had become a non-believer and then became an open atheist. And so that felt good. But I also felt like that I was doing this for people who I knew felt the same way, had the same position, but couldn't come out for all of the reasons and then some that I discussed earlier. So as I end and wrap this up, any other questions or comments we can discuss? If not, then I would like to wrap this up by saying, keep an eye out for any type of legislation that you may hear or read about regarding the pushing of Christianity or any other religion for that matter. But we know that this is a wannabe Christian nation. That's a whole nother discussion when we get into the Constitution and the founding fathers who were not Christian. Many of them were deists. If you don't know the difference between a deist and a deist simply says there may be something out there above me that maybe created all of this, but it's not a personal God in my life. And a theist is just the opposite. A theist believe that there is a personal God, God created, and God is moving and doing everything in your life every single day, and you have this personal relationship. And so many of our founding fathers were deists. Some even question religion and Christianity or a deity altogether. One of the early books I read was what is um, Thomas Paine. Um, what is it? The Age of Reason. And so that is a good book. So Thomas Paine was an individual who lived during the same time as the founding fathers. And he was avid about questioning religion and religion and its place, and the belief in God and all of that. So his Age of Reason was a fantastic book to read. And it shows you that even back then, there were people, powerful people, well-known people who were questioning Christianity and the belief in God at that point. Michael says, true, my cousin, my closest cousin, we were born only a few days apart, so we were always close. She stopped communicating with me after I told her that I didn't believe anymore. Yeah, man, it's as I said, my mother was the biggest. So 'cause my mother was a minister at the time, and so when I told her, she was uncharacteristically quiet because she's never quiet. That's probably where I get it from. But she was hurt, and she said some really horrible things to my sister about me and my wife after I told her this. And my sister told me, my sister was also very devout, very religious, but her and I were really close. And so we try not to have these conversations. But my sister told me the things that my mother said, and it was hurting but not surprising. And I had mentioned to my mother, I told her that we would have a discussion later on about this when I came home to see her. Uh, that was about a year and a half before she passed. And then she passed away, like I said, a year and a half. And so we never had opportunity to have this discussion. And so it left me with believing and feeling like this was the first time in my life that she was disappointed in me. I'm the oldest child. She was very proud of me for all of my accomplishments and the things I've done. I was the first person in the family to go to college, get a degree, get a master's degree, a second master's degree, write a book, all of that. So she was very proud of that. But I think that when she found out that I was no longer a believer, and at the time, I didn't tell her I was an atheist person. I just told her that I didn't believe. The way I phrased it at the time was, I no longer believe the way you believe. And so this was late 2015. She passed away in July uh, of 2017. And so, yeah, so she said these things. I know she was hurt, she was devastated, all of that, but we never got a chance to really talk about it. That's the only thing I sort of regret. I'm not sure if she would have come around, if she would have accepted that part of me. But I think eventually I would still would have been her son and all of that. But yeah, my wife, who also deconverted but is more spiritual than anything, um, I just sort of throw this in. Her mother is a little bit more open, but I think her mother is somewhat comfortable because my wife still believes that there is something out there. There's something beyond us. It is not. She certainly doesn't believe in the biblical, the Christian God, or the Abrahamic God, because she's been, Muslim and Christian. She certainly doesn't believe in the Abrahamic God, but she believes there is something else out there. But she's also into aliens and a whole bunch of other stuff. And I think that my mother-in-law is tolerable of that, as long as my wife says there is something above us, there is a higher power, or whatever she phrases it. Um, they know that I'm completely gone, and there's no there's no getting me back. So yeah, and so outside of that, I've lost some friends. My sister and I are close. My niece and nephew, who are grown now, they're um, 35 and 27 or 28 respectively. They will, first of all, they both will call me when they want to talk about religious stuff outside of Christianity. When they want to ask questions, when they become inquisitive about things, they will call me, and I will give them some reading suggestions and that type of thing. um, but then, holidays, every now and then, my sister might crack a joke or whatever, but it doesn't bother me because, that's just that. um, Other friends, people, everybody know where I am now. And that's people who get upset with me I have family members, older family members, who just say, "Well, that's just how he is, or whatever." So I don't get a lot of pushback now, but I've always been like that person on my own anyway. So, but for those of you who are straddling that fence, those of you who are wrestling with that type of thing, um, if this was 10 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, you need to come on out the closet, let them know where you are, whatever, whatever. But everyone's situation is different. And what I've learned from, ironically, what I've learned from young people, when I say young, I'm talking high school, college kids, when I was teaching at Georgia State for a couple of years, what I learned from young people is that their belief or their disbelief is just part of who they are. And so they don't wear it on their sleeve. It's just a part of who they are. And at first I was like, but then I now I understand that they're growing up in an environment where literally, not everyone believes in a God. And they really actually know people and have friends who are not believers. That was different for me. Everybody I knew was a believer, or if they were not, they didn't say that they wasn't. Everyone was a believer. So now, because I asked kids, young people, at one of our conferences, why are you guys not more active in the secular community per se? And they said, we have no reason to be. It is just part of who we are. Um, it is not a hang up. They don't have deep conversations about it. No one is expecting them to be religious or whatever. It's just part of who they are. And so they don't have this need to express their disbelief because it's just a part of them and a lot of their friends. And so I respect that and I understand that, and that makes a whole lot of sense. But for people like me, for us old heads, us OGs, um, it is important for me to be authentic, and it's important for me to sort of be a voice for those who at this point cannot be vocal and open about their disbelief. And so I do this in an attempt to allow people to know that there are people who look like me from where I grew up in the Deep South and from my generation, Generation X, that are non-believers. And if you are one of those, then there is a community for you that you can talk and communicate and get involved with. And so that's really why I do this. Outside of the tangible stuff, the larger scale stuff, like how Christian nationalism is such a danger to not only us, but the country as a collective. Um, and so we do that. But thank you to all of you for joining us today. I certainly appreciate it. I am here this summer, and so continue to follow me. Tell your friends, please subscribe to the channel. We're still growing the channel. Please subscribe to the channel. All of my followers are organic. They are real people. Leave comments. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Neo. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Amanda, and the rest of you who are out there listening. Please leave comments. I certainly appreciate it. Neo said, "I wish I could do short." Those of you who don't know Neo do long videos. I'm talking hours and hours, hours. Um, Neil, I'm actually surprised that I don't do longer videos because I love to talk. Um, but one thing that I realize about this type of work is that I'm so passionate about this, and so are you. I'm so passionate about this until an hour or so drains me. It drains me, and so when I'm done, I'm like exhausted. It is the end of my day. It is 5 o'clock here, or about to be 5 o'clock here. So I've done a lot of stuff before now, and so I'm just drained by the time I do this. So 2 or 3 hours get me. However, if and I've done debates and I've been on stage with other people. Now I can go hours and hours in a live setting with a debate with some other people discussing this type of stuff. So I can go hours and hours with that. So if you know of any paid debates or discussions and they're looking for someone, please let me know because I will certainly be there. But yeah, you guys support Neo on her channel. A lot of great content. Just be prepared to be there for several hours, but it is several interesting hours. So absolutely. So again, thank you, Neo. Thank all of you. I will see you guys in a couple weeks. Enjoy. Well, I don't celebrate any holiday, and I specifically don't celebrate this holiday coming up. Um, I don't eat ribs, so that's not my thing anymore. I don't care for fireworks, and certainly with what's going on in this country at this time, is just not my thing. So, but for those of you that do, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your holiday. I will see you guys in 2 weeks, and talk to you then.